and also about doing some statistics by using the Power BI data modeling. And at the end, publishing and sharing your visualization with other researchers. And at the end, also an example of how to connect to an online data server without need to upload or download any data set locally in your machine. You can just use any data set that is online, and even it could be refreshed, whatever, if you have a new data point, and it would just update your visualization accordingly. So there is no prerequisite for this workshop. There is just the online version of the Power BI that could be accessed by using your Clemson username and password. We have the license for the Power BI online. Anyone with a Clemson username and password should be able to connect to the Power BI online version. So that's the link for accessing the Power BI online. In case you don't have it, again, I just put it in the chat. And if there is any question, just let me know. Before that, I will just move on to the first section of the workshop. Feel free, if you have any question, just ask it in the chat. I would answer that. So if there is no question, we would jump to the first section of this workshop. Also, I just pre-recorded some of the sessions and materials here. I just have the links for the videos in the YouTube channel that you can access here, and you can just review it whenever you want. The first section is the introduction to data analytics and the Microsoft Power BI software. From the purpose that we say the data analytics and general data visualization is to create charts, plots, and graphs from the numeric tables. When we say data, you can just think of it as a table. It's a numeric table. You can just think of it as an Excel spreadsheet. We can just think of it as the rows and columns of the numerics assembled in a table, like what we have in the Excel spreadsheets. And we try to create charts and graphs that could give us some insight about those numbers in our table. Not just looking at the numbers in the table, that's really difficult to understand what's going on, what's the trend, for example. By the visualization, we would be able to create some more insightful graphics that could help people to understand your data and understand your story about the data. So as I said, the data that we are working here are exactly something like the Excel spreadsheet or tables. So any data that are in the format of the spreadsheet and or the Excel format, it's possible to import it into some Power BI software and create the visualization for that. So we try to convert these tables into some meaningful graphs and charts that could give us some insight about the data. For example, by just looking at these numbers, it's really hard to understand what's the market share between different rolling periods in the central, east, or west. But by looking at the chart, it might be easier to understand if it's increased or decreased, or what's the trend in different areas. So that's the purpose of data visualization and data analytics. And for that, here in this workshop, we would use the Microsoft Power BI. Microsoft Power BI is not the only software that could be used for the data visualization. We have some other sessions as Tableau and some other sessions for the programming of the data visualization like Python, R, or D3.js, but here we would work on the Microsoft Power BI. Okay, so in order to access your Microsoft Power BI account, you can just click on the link I just put in the chat and access that. If you are login, you should be able to see this welcoming page of the Microsoft Power BI online interface. But if you are not logging, it just asks you for putting putting the username and password and be able to log in and use your Clemson username and password and be able to log in into the Microsoft Power BI online interface. So just use this format for your Clemson username, your username at clemson.edu. And if you are able to log in successfully into the Microsoft Power BI, you should be able to see this first page, which is shown here, similar to this, but don't worry if you don't see something here about the data or previous visualizations. That's because if you don't have any previous visualization, there should not be something here listed, but after, if you save a couple of visualization, they would show up here. So by just seeing the first page, you understand that the login was successful. So before jumping into the next section, let me know if there is any question, any difficulty with logging into the Microsoft Power BI online. And if everybody is logged in, we will jump into the next section. Any question, any issue, any comments, any problem with logging into the Microsoft Power BI interface? No, you should not use the g.clemson. It should be your username at clemson.edu, not .com. Yes, it's not a free trial. I'm not sure, did you use your Clemson account? It's not free trial license, but we don't have access to the Microsoft Power BI Pro features. It's just the basic features. We don't have access to the Microsoft Power BI Pro, but it should not be trial. And as I said, you should use the username at clemson.edu, similar to what I showed here. That's the format of what you need for the sign-in. Your username at clemson.edu. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So if there is any other issue with logging in, I would just wait a few more minutes, make sure everybody was able to log into the Microsoft Power BI. Any issue, any comment, any question, just put in the chat. In order to use the desktop application, you need to have the Windows operating system. Of course, it has more features and options available in the desktop application, and it's easier to create the visualization in the desktop application and just share your final visualization or report online in the Microsoft Power BI. But the reason that we use the online version is here is that maybe not all the people have Windows operating system, and some people have the Mac or Linux operating system. So we wanted to just make it more general and generic. But if you have the Windows application, Clemson has the license for Microsoft Power BI Desktop, and you should be able to use that as well. Yes, if you prefer to follow the recording and the videos afterwards, that's fine. Yeah. Okay. So if there is no problem about logging in, the last section of just the prerequisite for the workshop is to download the data. We have three data sets that I shared in the Google Drive, and you should be able to download them. I would put the links of the data set in the chat, but in case you have access to the website, you should be able to download them. Yes, we need three different data sets that you should be able to download them with these links. If you click on the links, you should open a Google Drive, and you should see the spreadsheet here, and you should be able to download them by just clicking on the download. And I will just download them. Like you, click on download. So we need these three different data sets to download, and make sure you have the files available. Data.csv, data-sc.csv, and breast cancer dataset.csv. Uh, this the delimiter for the data is not necessarily to be a comma separated value. It could be tab delimited value, separated value, or even an Excel spreadsheet. So that's fine. But the data that we are using here is the comma separated value format. I believe I put that for the breast cancer. That's the link. This is the link for the breast cancer data. And which one you got the Google error message when you use the link? I believe I just clicked on the same link as you. The first one works, that shows me the data. The second one shows the data SC, and the third one shows the breast cancer data.csv. Okay. But in case you have access to the website also, you should be able to download them here. The first one, the second one, and the third one. Any other issue about downloading the data? Yes, I believe I put, but I would just put the link for this specific page. Yes, that's Good. So if there was any issue, let me know, but we will move on to the first section, that's to know how to import data set into the Power BI. So if you go back to the first page of the Power BI software, you have your workspace available. So you should be able to see your workspace. And if you click on the workspace, you should see a list, but it's not necessary. If you don't have any visualization, this list should be empty here. In order to import a new data set, click on the new data set here. And with that, you should be able to click. You don't need creative new workspace. It should be named as your My Workspace. Do you see the My Workspace? You don't need to create a new workspace. It should be available already. Yes, it's not necessary to have a picture on it. Yeah, it should be just named My Workspace and doesn't necessarily should have a picture. Yes, yeah, it would be gray and without any picture. But it's called the My Workspace and it's located in the left bottom. Any issue with that? So click on the My Workspace. Click. Okay, good. So click on New and click on Data Set. You don't need to have a pro license to access your workspace, regardless of your license. You should be able to see the workspace. Let me check with a different account, even not a Clemson account. Let me check. So yes, so it says the good morning something, and you should be able to see the workspace here. So that's something that's an account that doesn't have any visualization or just a pure empty from scratch. You should be able to see workspace here. Click on new, click on data sets, and click on files. So any question with that? Still, if there is any problem that you can see the workspace or it's resolved. So click on my workspace, click on new data set, and click on files get. And you see some option about fetching the data set online from OneDrive account or SharePoint. But as I said, in the first section of this workshop, you would use the local files that you downloaded previously from the Google Drive. So click on the local file. and just find these 3 different files that you downloaded. Going to first click on this. And you should see, if you click on the go to dashboard, you should see that that file is imported. Again, click on the my workspace. Again, go to the data set, click on files get, click on local files, and just repeat it for the 2 other files as well. So I'm going to choose the other file, click on open, which says that the importing data, this could take a little while. If it was successful, you should see this message. And if you click on the go to dashboard, you should see your data set here. And I'm just repeating it for the last file I have. And again, I should be able to see my file here. So in order to see that if it was successfully imported into your account, click on the data sets here in the left menu. Click on data set. You should see the list of the data set. And I'm just sorted with the date. So these are the 3 different files I uploaded today. So that's the date of today. And if it's successful, you should see these 3 different files or data set in your data set menu. Uh, uh, what's the meaning of pop-up file isn't supported? Does it show any error? Are you uh, are you able to open those CSV files, those 3 CSV files that we downloaded in the Excel? If you are able to see them in the Excel, that should be fine, I believe. These are the 3 different files. And first, make sure that okay, but just make sure the files that you downloaded has a CSV extension. So it should be possible. If it's possible to see them successfully in the Excel, something like this Excel sheet here, that should be okay to just import it into the Microsoft Power BI. But even if the Excel shows an error, maybe there is something wrong with the downloading. Any other issues? Everybody was able to upload the data set and see these 3 different data sets in the data sets menu. Okay. Good. So I just put the procedure here as well. That's the same thing that we did exactly. So if there is no question in this section, we will jump into the next section for actually creating some plots and charts from the data sets that we imported into the Microsoft Power BI. Okay. So in order to, the first data set that we use is the one that is called the data.csv. is this first one that I uploaded here. And in order to work with this data set, you can just go to the data set menu, click on the data one, or let's go back to the home. Click on the workspace, find this, and click on the data one. Click on the workspace, sort it with the newest one at the first, and you should be able to see your data set here in the My Workspace, and click on the data here. And now we want to create a report from scratch. That's able to just do it both ways. Click on My Workspace or the data set, and click on report from scratch. So you should be able to see this window here that just gives you lots of different options for the visualization. And also in the fields, you should be able to see the different fields available in your data set. Any question, any problem? By analyze section, I believe you mean this one. Yes, yeah, that could be something like the Power Query tables that you can just transform, do some editation in your data set. We usually do some pre-processing on the data set before importing into the Power BI to create the visualization. But we assume that all the data set that we have already here is clean and polished, so we could just use them right away for the visualization. But if you need some pre-processing for the data, you could use it in here as the online option here for the analyzing Excel, or do it offline on your machine and then import the data set. I would go back to the summation signs later on, and let's just, it might be easier, just click on the data sets. I have my data here, click on data one or data.csv, whatever name that you have, and create from scratch a report. A report is a data visualization that we are trying to create. So click on the create from scratch. Good. And about the summation, very briefly, is that there are two modes of the analyzing the data or creating the data visualization here in the Power BI. One is using just the non-aggregated mode, which means that there is no function applied on the data like the summation, average, variances, or mean values. But it's possible to apply some aggregation functions like the summation, average value, or a standard deviation. So that's the two mode, and that summation sign, which means that by default, Microsoft Power BI assume that you want to use the data in the aggregated mode and apply the summation function on that. That's the reason you see the summation here. But we'll see later on how to change that. So that was about importing the data. The first data set that we have here is the data set of the COVID-19 data set across different counties in the United States. And we have, if you look at the fields here, the cases shows the number of the cases in each county. And the county is just the county name. Death is the number of death from the COVID-19, the latitude and the longitude are the ones, the longitude and latitude of the counties. And you see that it says generated because the Power BI has the ability to generate the latitude and longitude of geographical data set automatically once it identified correctly. And the state is just the name of the state for each county. For example, Pickens County in South Carolina. So that's the value of the county, and that's the value of the state for the South Carolina. And the cases and deaths are just the numeric values. And you see that we have just a summation for the numeric values because we could apply the aggregation functions like the average, mean value, or a standard deviation only on the numeric values. And cases, depths, and latitude and longitude are the only numeric values that we have here. The county and state are just a string. They are just name. They're just, they are not numeric. For the first visualization, we need to click on the map here in the visualization. By the way, we see a lot of different type of the data visualization here that we will go through on later on. But here, because we have a geographical data set first, we will introduce how to create a heat map or create a visualization from geographical data sets. So click on map and you can just maximize it, but you can have your own layout. For example, just use the half of it and just you can use multiple visualization here and create a layout for yourself to put the visualization wherever you want. And at the end, you can just create a full report that could be used by the users to interact with your visualization. For the first one, we could just maximize it. So yeah, this data visualization charts, as we chose as map, needs some information to create a visualization or show the visual in this window. There are some attributes available, and we need to put them based on the fields that we have. And it's really easy that we could just drag and drop the fields into the different locations that we want to just put. The first thing is to give the position of the counties here, that we could just drag and drop the latitude into the latitude section. And as I said, we could use it in the aggregated mode by aggregating in the summation, average, minimum, maximum, variance, median, and standard deviation, but we don't want to summarize it. So make sure that it's on the don't summarize here. And drag and drop the longitude here. So with that, you should be able to see the points, and each point represents a different county here. Any question, any problem with dragging and dropping the fields into this latitude and longitude? You need to just drag and drop here. And make sure that if you click on this triangle here, make sure it's on the don't summarize. If you do the summation or average, it would aggregate your data. It would just, these all points would collapse to single points. Let's try that.
So I just have a question. The summation symbol, it just represents that is like a numerical instead of a categorical variable. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, because the only, yeah, the numerical variables are the ones that could be aggregated only. Yes.
Okay, so the summation in the, like in the far right corner is not because it's a summation, but it's just indicating the type of variable that we have. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, yeah. It just
Okay.
shows that the fields that we have is a numerical variable. And because of that, the numerical variables could be aggregated in any function that are available in the Microsoft Power BI.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Uh, I'm not sure. You are not able to see the don't summarize option. You should, if you click, uh, if you put the latitude in this field here, click on this triangle here, and you should able to see the don't summarize or other functions that are available for the aggregation. I believe that's not possible to don't have it as far as I know. Great. There are two other type of the attributes. Uh, that's interesting. That doesn't show the don't summarize, because by default it should be there that you have the option to don't summarize. But if you don't that option, if you don't have that option, are you able to see these blue dot points? And about you cannot see the latitude and longitude sections. Are you sure that you are correctly chosen the correct map or visualization type? Let me just remove this and create one from the scratch. That's interesting, but let's try to do it again. Let's click on the map here. The latitude, just drag it here. Longitude here. And don't summarize, it still, I believe, should be there, but that's really interesting if you don't see it. Okay, good. So, okay, that might happen sometimes. Yeah, but that's fine. Any other issue or any other comment? Any other? So maybe that's a trick to just remove it one time and just add it again might work to see it here, because it worked for someone. It might work for you to just delete uh, the map and choose it again. Yes, you can just use it for your certificate as well, this visualization. Any other questions, any other issues that you might have? Okay, you see that there are some other attributes here, the legend, size, and the tooltip. Tooltip is the information that you, when you hover on your data points in the map here, you see, for example, by default, you see the latitude and longitude of each point. You just hover on that and you see some information about but you can just customize your tooltip, which means that if the user would hover on your data points, you want to show them some more information. For example, let's say I want to hover on the points here and see which point has which cases or defs. So I could just put that in the tooltip. Let's try to drag and drop the cases into the tooltip. Yes. Now I have the cases information as well besides the latitude and longitude of the points. So you can just hover on any points and see the information. And the thing is that you can have multiple information in the tooltip. For example, I just put one field of the cases in the tooltip, but I could just put another field as the defs. And I would have that information as well when I hover on my data points. Any question related to this tooltip? Any problem? About deciding what type of data visualization is appropriate for your data. We had another workshop last week about data visualization principles and how to choose the best chart or plots for your specific application. It depends on what relation are available on your data. For example, it's a time series data, it's a geographical data, it's a discrete continuous data. And you can decide based on the type of the data that you have and the relations that you expect to have in your data to choose which chart is more suitable for your specific application. For more information, let me share that information with you for data visualization principles. So that's the link to would be able to help you to decide which chart might be more suitable for you to use for your specific application. It has some roadmaps for choosing the best graphs. Any question related to the tooltip?
I have I guess, I don't know if it's a weird question. I don't think it's a weird question. But I'm trying to zoom in on my data without zooming too far in and without zooming too far out to kind of have it where you have yours. But me using the, I guess, mouse or the keypad is either zooming too far in or too far out, even if I take my fingers off of it. Do you have a click way that I can do this? Oh, okay. Shift plus. I can try that. Oh, explore. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I don't have that problem because I'm just using a regular mouse here, but in the keypad, it might be a little bit difficult to properly zoom in and zoom out, and just maybe that shift plus maybe help. Any other questions related to tooltip? The next thing before jumping to the other attributes that we have for this charts and graph is that right now we use all the data points that we have available in our data sets, but it's available, but it's possible to filter some of the data set based on some condition or some values that you have. For example, here in the middle section, you should see the filters option. And because I use the cases, defs, latitude, and longitude in these fields here, I see them in the filters menu as well. And for example, for the cases, if I just click on this triangle here, I would be able to filter my data based on some condition, if it's less than, if it's greater than, or if it's not, if it's blank, or if it's not blank, or other conditions that you want to use for the filtering of your data set. It might be useful sometimes. For example, let's say I want to filter the data points that have the cases higher than, let's say, 10. So I would just change it to is greater than 10, and I would apply the filter here. I would just filter my data and would just keep all the data points that their number of cases are greater than 10. And I could verify that, go through all the points that I have here and make sure that all the cases are greater than 10. So that's the way of filtering the data. So we could just apply it to any fields that we have here and maybe customize our visualization a little bit more. We would use this filtering later on for different type of the visualization. It's the same concept as we saw here. So it would just remain the same for any type of the visualization that we would use in the Microsoft Power BI to filter the data based on some conditions about the columns or the numeric tables that you have. Any question about related to the filters?
When we apply a filter, is there a way that we can know how many of the observations were like filtered and how many like were left out? What I mean?
Yes, but not in the Power BI online here, because here we don't have full access to the Power BI query. There in the desktop version, there is an option, is called the Power BI query. It's something like the Excel that you can transform your data, see the number of the data points, and apply some filterings, and then again see the number of the data points. With that, it's possible, but I'm not sure if it's possible in the Power BI online as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, you can use the estate names as well for this type of the visualization. But here, because my purpose was to put points in each county, I use the latitude and longitude, but it's not necessary. Not zip code, you cannot use the zip code here directly, but you can use the county name or estate name for the visualization. So it would be possible to use just drag and drop, for example, the estate or the county into the location, and then go from that. Let's try that instead of putting if there is no blue dots, there might be a problem with the way that you imported put the fields into the map. Let's try that. In order to use a different layout, it might be possible to use some other tools and softwares that are specifically available for creating more specific and advanced heat map visualizations. But in the Power BI, it's just only overlays our data into the world map. But for creating that, let me try that from scratch. I would just remove this. I put the map here. By just dragging the latitude and longitude, you should be able to see these blue dots here. If there is no blue dot, I suspect that it's not on the don't summarize. Make sure it's on the don't summarize, and by just putting the latitude and longitude, you should see these blue dots. Okay, good. So besides the tooltips, we have two other attributes here as the legend and size. The size is just defines the size of the dots that we have here. It could be just varied by some other fields that you have available that could give us an attribute that could be used for better visualization. So with that, for example, I would put the cases into the size. Now the size of the dot points are indicator of the number of the cases in that county. And for better seeing that, I'm going to filter my data again for the cases greater and apply the filter. Here, if we more zoom on, we see that there are some difference between the number of the size of the data points here for different counties. So it means that the cases would be indicator of the number of the cases in our data visualization. And there is another field available, another attribute, the legends. We could just put some colors on the data points. If we now I'm trying to create the visualization based on the color of these points in my map, based on the number of the diffs. If I put this into the legend, it would create the color for me here, and I could see the legend of the colors here. So these are the two attributes available for these charts and graphs that we could use for the visualization of this type of the map visualization that we have. So the legend just change the color of the data points based on the fields that you have. And the size would change the size of the data points. And the tooltips would add some information, some more information about your data set. So for example, I want to just, when I'm hovering on the data points, I want to see the name of the county and also the name of the state. So I'm just putting this. And that I could just see the state, the number, the name of the county here. So these are the three different attributes available to create the visualization. Any question, any comments related to this? The size of the data points shows the relative difference between the number of the cases or whatever attributes that you put for the size of the dots. So it's just a relative. For example, the size of data points that represent, for example, 10 should be 2 times bigger than something that shows 5. So that's just a relative difference between the data points. The legend numbers. Here, it's related to the number of deaths, not in a range. For example, not it's not like the color map that you have a range for the colors. For example, let's say between 0 to 10 is colored as blue, or for example, 10 to 20 is colored as green, or 20 to 30 is colored as red. So, but here each data point represent different colors, but it's not a color map. So to have a bucket for a different range, but we would go through that. That needs a different type of the data visualization to have a color map instead of exact color for different type of the depths. How do I add color? I missed that part. Can just drag and drop any field that you have into the legend. So let me remove this field from the legend. And drag and drop depths into the legend. It would just color your data points accordingly. And about the confusion, yes, I agree that because different colors are attributed to the different number of depths. But as I said, maybe we could use a different type of the charts that just gives us a color map to just have a range of colors that are, for example, between 0 to 10 or whatever range that we have. That would be more easier to understand and see. But the only available option to use the colors on this type of the maps is to attribute different colors, exact different colors, to different number of the attributes that different values of the fields that we imported into the, for example, legend.
So that means that we cannot change the colors that are used. Like we could not use a range of colors that, let's say, would be from lighter color would be the 0, and then it goes on to a darker color
Yes,
as the numbers go up.
we could use that, but in a different chart type, which is called the Arcgis maps for Power BI. That would give us a color map that you can, as you see, for example, a range of color that starts from blue that goes to the red. The blue is, for example, attributed to the minimum values, and the red is attributed to the maximum value, and everything is between is a smoothly change the color.
Okay.
Yes, as I said, we could use a different chart or graph type to have different, to have a color map for any field or attribute that we added to the map. For example, the number of the cases that goes from 0 to 1,000 or whatever, that just starts from the blue to the red, or it starts from the yellow that goes to the red, or any color map that we have. By default, the Power BI could just shows a fixed number of the colors in the online version. So when we put the depths into the legend, there is a limit of just that 36 ones that we see goes from the 0 for the depths to the 35 at the end in the at the top side of our visualization. When you put that, because of that limit, it just removes the other points that are beyond that limit. It's just the limit of the Power BI online, but we don't have that limit in the Power BI desktop version. But that's the reason why when you remove or add the depths into the legend, the number of the data points would be increased or decreased. So that's just the artificial side effect of the limit that we have for the number of the colors that we have here. Yes, as I said, we want to have a range of the data and a color map that goes as smoothly from the minimum to maximum values. Any other questions or comments related to this? Any other issue? So now, in order to create a color map, as I said, it would be decreased the number of the points because of that limit, but I'm not sure why it just reduced to the 4. Maybe you use different filterings, or it would decrease the number of the data points, but I'm not sure why it decreased to the 4. Because of that limit, it would decrease to the some other values. So we had that. And in order to have a color map, let's remove these legends here and click on format and click on data colors and click on this function here. So as I said, that way that we put the different colors could be really confusing for creating the data visualization. But in order to have a smooth color map, it's possible to do it in the Power BI, but with a different type of format for the coloring. So if you click on that, and for the coloring, we go to here, format, data colors, click on this, and it just should open the data colors here. And the format is color scale. The field that we want to use for the coloring is, for example, the depth and the summarization. And we want to use the lowest and highest values. And I want to create a range, for example, that comes from a orange to something like the red here. So I would create a color map based on the depths, based on the lowest and highest values here, or you can just use a custom number that you can just put here, any number that you want to use for your range. And the highest value for, again, custom number, if you want to just put any number here. And also the fields and the summarization. And also you see the create heat map here. And now we are seeing that all the data points are colored with the depths, but in a range, not just assigning different colors to data points that we have before by using the legends. That's strange because you should be able to. You should see the data one and different fields. Do you see the, before opening this window, do you see the cases, county, depths, latitude, longitude, and a state in the right side in the fields? If yes, it should be yes. When I click on that, if I click here, based on fields, I see the all other fields available here. The cases, depths, and other fields available. And I chose the depths. You can choose whatever you want from your fields and then use that for your visualization. Yes, that's correct. Just click on depths and have this configuration, and it should just create that visualization for you. And I would just change this, the highest value to maybe different number, because as you saw that all the points were yellowish and we had just one red that was for the New York. So I'm just going to change that, and that would give me more color shading, color gradient here for different data points here. Sometimes it's better to choose a customized range. Maybe I just decreased it. Maybe it would be easier to see what's going on. Oh, I'm not sure if you are able to see these different fields. It should be the same when you click on the default color, and it should be in the here. Not sure why. If you see the fields of the cases and defs in the fields, it's not available based on the field here. It just showed the same thing as we saw in the field here in the right side here, the right side list that we have.
It's strange. I can see that, but it's just not giving me the option for based on fields. So maybe if I close out and then reopen the page or something, it would work.
Maybe, are you sure that you are on the format for the map here and
Yes.
also
I'm
data
in the
colors? Yeah,
Yes. Thank you. I'll figure
thank
it
you.
out.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Right now we have the data points here, but the Power BI could generate something like the density from our data, something like the heat map directly from our data. That's because we could, because of seeing, instead of seeing the data points here, the actual data points, we could see the generated density map from the Power BI. That might be more useful in some cases for the visualization to better see which regions are more concentrated in terms of the different attributes that we have. If you click on the heat map off, we could just make it on. And it would generate a heat map for us, might be more visible in this one. And again, I want to create a different coloring. I want to go from yellowish to red. And it would create a density map for us instead of seeing the actual data points. So it's the density instead of the actual data, but it's just generated from automatically by the Power BI. That's also another mode that we could use in the maps for the visualization. So with that, we would jump to the next type of the visualization that we have to use for the scattering. Before jumping into that, if there is any other question about the heat maps, other different options available here, or if there is any issue or comments, please let me know. For that, we need a different visualization type to be something like this Conti type, as you saw. So that's a different one from the maps that we use here. If there is no question about this, I would just remove this. If there is any question, just let me know. I want to just remove this and briefly go to the Arcgis map that just gives us a tile of the counties as well. Let's see a little bit on that. If there is no question, I would remove this one. Yes, you need to save that in the file. You can just save your report here. You would be able to save it. So make sure that you save it for future. In order to create that county tile type, I would, you need to use a different charts here. Instead of using this map, use this ArcGIS map for Power BI. Click this. and put the county in the location here. And that would create this for you, and you can just put the attribute here in the color. Here. It would create that tile of the counties if you put the location, the county in the location. You don't need to sign in the Arcgis Map enterprise account. We don't have access to the Arcgis enterprise account, so you can just use it as it is without logging into the Arcgis Map. And with the cases in the color, it should color that. Not sure why. It's explains that it has problem with coloring here. Like that. County location here. And cases in the color. It's a bit slow, sorry. Okay, so that's just create the tiles of the counties and the colors based on a different shape of the counties. So that's maybe more interactive in comparison to what we had in previous one. In order to have the legends, you can just click here and have this legend for the values of the counties. For example, based on the different counties, you can have the different values of the number of the cases here. So that you show you the legend attributed to different colors. It should be by default available. It's ArcGIS. It's called the Arcgis Map for Power BI. So it should be located at the bottom of this visualization type list here. And it's called the Arcgis Maps for Power BI. And after that, drag and drop the county into the location and drag and drop the cases into the color. And we should be able to see this.
Is there a way to filter by state and county? So if I'm in South Carolina, so I want to filter by South Carolina, but then also go deeper into South Carolina and look at the different counties?
Yes, it's possible. If I put the state into the filters here, I see the list of the states, and you said the South Carolina. So I'm going to find the South Carolina and filter only the South Carolina here. You see some mistakes here. That's because the Power BI sometimes cannot recognize the name of, because maybe we have a same name of the counties for different states, and it attributes those counties to different states instead of the correct states. So that's the reason why, for example, we have the Beaufort County in the South Carolina, but maybe we have one in the North Carolina as well. And that's the reason why it just attributed that to the North Carolina. But
Did you say, I'm sorry,
sorry.
Did you say that you added state to the filters, or was state put into the visualization category before it got to the filter?
No, you don't need to put the state into the visualization categories. You need to just drag and drop the state into the filter here, add data fields here.
Got it. Thank you.
And then click on whatever you want to choose. For example, South Carolina, or whatever the state that you have. You can do the same thing for the counties as well. Here you see all the counties. So maybe if you're looking for a specific counties, let's say, yeah, I'm just looking, for example, for the Greenville County, I can just use the Greenville County in the South Carolina. So that's just a list that you can choose from. I would go through the color to change the color. For the layer, I just clicked on the layer here. It just gives me the layer. And for the different colors, I need to click on this one and click on the different layers. I can what's this? Okay, so that's that option to change the color map is, seems it's removed from the online version. But before that, it was possible to change that color map from to whatever you want for changing the color. But I believe it's removed in the newest version of the online map. But it was, here you can just control that the color, or it was possible to change different colors or even different styles of the maps. But it's just, I believe it's just removed for some reason. For the layers, also just create the layers. So that's just the layers. Okay. So with that, I would click all them. And for, if you want to just save this visualization, as I said, click on the file and save this report and just choose a name for your report and click on save. So that would save your report, and then you should be able to see your report here. So the report is the one that just could be shared with other people to be able to interact with your visualization. So before jumping to the next section of creating the scatter plots, if there is any question about, in order to fix that, we need to put some more information about the location, actually combine, clean our data set and put the information about the state. We had the state, but still, because it's not combined with the county, it might be difficult for the Power BI to recognize them correctly, but we need to do some pre-processing to combine the state and counties together and make sure that the Power BI could identify the county that you are supposed to know in the specific state. So that's the way to go through that. See, for changing that, let's go back to my editing it. So in order to change that symbology, they just changed the name of that. Yes, I believe that was that. And here we have different color types. Maybe we could just use whatever you want. And also you have some access to change some of the color function here that might be more suitable for your visualization. Yeah, thank you. It was in the layer list. Click here, symbology, and here you should be able to see the color ramp and choose whatever color ramp that you want to choose. So I would save this and we could make them transparent, as I believe here. Maybe if I just put, for example, 50% transparency, not sure. Yeah, maybe just mimic what you want with the transparency here. Change the transparency, and that might be more visible about. Any other question before jumping into the breast cancer data set and creating some scatter plots? Save this.
I just have a question about saving our reports. So we could, once we save, we cannot go back and change things. Is that right?
When you save in the report mode, you cannot change your visualization, but if you click on the edit, you should be able to back in this environment and edit your visualization and then save it again in the report.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whenever you want to edit it, you just need to click on the edit and go back to this environment for editing the visualization.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I will save this, and similar to what we did, so we need to create a new report. Just click on the My Workspace, new report, or for finding the breast cancer dataset, it might be easier to click on the datasets, sorted by the newest one, and click on the breast cancer data, similar to what we have initially for the COVID-19 dataset, and click on it and create from scratch. So that's one that we want to use for the next visualization. So if successfully, you should be able to see this again, similar to what we had before, but with different type of data fields. And this data has a lot of different fields that we could use for the visualization. Any problem to load this data set similar to what we had before? Now, so in order, the next one is that our data is about some attributes that are measured for cancerous cells. For example, their area, their radius, the concave points, or some other attributes about cancer cells. And we want to see if there is any correlation between different attributes. It might be useful for some further analysis of the data and even some machine learning analysis to understand which cells were cancerous or which cell was normal. And with that, we were able to see plot the attributes, for example, the radius over the mean area for different measurements. Each data points here represents different measurements of the cells about their features like the area, radius, or other features. And different colors represent the fact that if the cell was cancerous or if the cell was not cancerous. So that's the logic behind having two different type of the colors here. So in order to create that, here again, we went back to the visualization here, and we could create a scatter chart. And here for this, I created the visualization for worst concave points over the mean area. So sometimes with this, if you have a lot of different fields and it might be difficult to just look for them manually, you can just search for them and it will just give you that. So I'm going to put the worst concave point into the y-axis and the mean area to the x-axis. And I see just one point because I just aggregated the data, but I don't want to aggregate data, so I need to deaggregate the data. So make sure don't summarize the data for x and y axis. Let's just create them from scratch. It's easy. You can just click on the scatter chart here. Scatter chart. Maximize it. The first one I wanted to put on the y-axis was worst concave point. I just searched that and I just drag it and drop it on the y-axis. The other one is mean area. I'm going to drag and drop in the y-axis. Click on this triangle here. Click on don't summarize. Click on this triangle and click on don't summarize. And you should be able to see this. Any other problem, any questions? Okay, so, and the color, as I said, these are the measurements of the cancerous and the normal cells. And I want to know which one is cancerous and which one is the normal. And I could just put that into the legend. And it would create different colors for different type of the cancerous cells, for the cells. Yes, yeah. I want to attribute another information I have in my data to the data points, but one way is to changing the color. For example, I know that I have two groups of cells here, and I want to just change the different, change the color based on those two type of groups. So that needs a little bit information about what data that we are looking for and we are using for the data visualization. It's possible to change the colors here to whatever you want. For example, we can do to blue and red. That might be easier to understand. And you can just go to the format. Whatever format that you want to change about the data, go to the format, data colors, and you can change the different colors of the data points. We can change the shape. For example, we can change the size of this one's bigger, smaller, really a smaller. I can change the shape to, for example, this one. Can add transparency, or even you can change the background, the color background. So that's interesting. Let's try that. can just change the color. My intention was to change the different color of the regions, but might not work that way. I'm just thinking, so let's remove that. So any information that you want to change, you can just change the position of the legend. Let's put it in the bottom or right or wherever you want. You can change the name, change the font color of the legends, change their size. For example, it might be a little bit small to see. I'm just going to change, make them a little bit bigger. For change using different shapes. Yes, that might be possible. Let's try to put it doesn't, the shape, the thing is that the shape doesn't accept a function for the shape. So I believe no, not directly here. Maybe that needs some tricks to combine, maybe write a little bit a script about choosing which shape for which data points, but not directly as far as I see here. Okay, so to the marker shape. Yes, we could change the shape, but we want to have different shape for different classes, basically. So that needs some function or formatting. Yes, so that's also possible. Good point. Customized areas can choose for different ones. Yeah. Let's make them a little bigger. That's more visible here. Yeah. Good point. Thank you. The last thing about the scatter plots is that we can do some data analytics, simple data analytics. The one that might be useful for a scatter plot is the trend line. It's just basically a linear regression for just finding the trends of the data points that we have here. If we go to the analytics here from this menu and go to the first one for the trend line, click add, and then we could just have that linear regression. You just use all the data points that we have here and create a linear regression. And we could change the color of that line to something else. Maybe, for example, this one, changing the transparency and changing the style, so to the solid line or dots ones. So that would give us more insight about the trends of the data, what trends that we have in our data set. That might be useful to use the trend lines or linear regression, simple linear regression here. The thing is that here in the interface here, we could only use the linear regression. But if we want to use more sophisticated equation for the regression, like the nonlinear regressions, that needs a little bit more scripting to just define a different equation, I believe. Any question, any comments? Any issue that you might have in changing some of the formats or creating the trend lines? And we went through the filtering before, so you can just use the filterings to just filter maybe your data to whatever you want. So that's the filterings one. Before jumping into the next section, any question related to the scatter plot or the previous charts that we have for the map visualization?
Just a small detail, how did you change the legend to the right corner?
Here, under the legend, you can change the position to whatever you want.
Okay, thank you.
And for example, title, if you don't even want to see the title or change the color or font format, font size, so that would change the format of the legend. You can do the same thing for the x-axis, y-axis, make it continuous or categorical, which doesn't make sense here because our data is continuous, and the scale is linear or log. We just change the scale of our data. Our data is not in the log format. And a start and end is just a range for that. And you can just invert the axis, something like this. Change the color and change the font and change the size of the x-axis. That would, we can do the same thing for the y-axis as well. Any more questions about this? So we went through this trend lines. So that was just using a simple linear regression to just create a trend line for this scatter plot that we saw how to create that trend line and change some of the attributes and features about that trend line. And at the end, for this visualization, we could create different reports and save them. For example, let's say, I just save them again. And you could just export it in the PDF PowerPoint format for just maybe present it to your users, or you can just share it. But unfortunately, we don't have access to the Power BI, so we can't share directly or embed this report in some websites. But we could link, give the access to the link. But if we had the access to the Power BI Pro, we were able to embed this report directly into the websites or interactive online reports. But we could just share the link and share it with other people, or even share it in the Microsoft Teams. If you want to edit it again, as I said, you can just click on the edits. No, if you export it to the PowerPoint, it's not interactive. We don't have that license to embed the interactive reports into the website or online platforms. That needs Microsoft Power BI Pro license that we don't have it in the Clemson. In order to back to the editing, you can just click on the edit. It would just back to the edits. And for seeing your saved report, you can click on the My Workspace, and the first, the one that we have here, I had here, you can just find it here, whatever your name you put, breast cancer report, I just found my report again. I want to edit it again, I just click on the edit tag, page, anything I want. Any question related to sharing or?
When we share the link, the person just has the access to like the scatter plot, or can the person edit as well? can the person see like the data set that we use and all the other things, or just a scatter plot?
It just cannot change the visualization. For example, change the chart type or change the colors. But if you give the users access to filter your data, they might have some interactivity to filter your data and see some features about that. Let's say you see that the filter and there is not filter to display, but I can add some filters to make it more interactive. So let's say I want to give the user ability to filter the main area. I can save it here. And if I go back to the report here, the user would be able to filter here without the user could not access to the editing your visualization, but it would be possible to filter your data and have some interactivity with that. So that would just filter that without needing to go through the details of the data visualization when you share this report with somebody else. Just,
Okay.
yeah, it's just up to you. You want to give the user access to do this or not. So that depends on you. Sometimes it's important to give the user some interactivity to be able to explore and see some information about the data visualization more. But we can just add the features here to be able to do that.
Okay, thank you.
And yes, I said that the work, your report in your workspace, and based on the name that you put, you can just find it. If I just sorted the ones I had, I can just find it here. So that's the type is report, and that's the one I have here. Any more questions? So that was about sharing. The last thing is to connect to some online servers. Here we fetched local files into the Power BI, imported that file, local files into Power BI, but the Power BI has the ability to fetch the data online automatically and update your visualization whenever a new data point is available. To do that, you need to have access to the Power Automate. We have the license for the Power Automate in Clemson University. And here, for example, we want to fetch the position of the space station, extracting the latitude and longitude from a JSON API, and then use the Power BI to create that visualization. So it's automatic. For example, you say that you want to just fetch the position of the space station in time interval that you choose, for example, every minute, every 15 minutes, every day, or whatever. And then the Power BI would be able to create the visualization. And whenever the data is updated, it would just update your visualization as well. So that's a different mode of the visualization that we want to create by using the combining the Power Automate and Power BI together. So in order to access to the Power Automate, so as I said, it's an automatic workflow. So we need to create an automatic workflow for that by using the Power Automate. Power Automate is a software from the Microsoft that could create any automatic workflow. So the automatic workflow that we want to create here is to fetch the data every minute for the space station and transfer that data to the Microsoft Power BI and be able to create the visualization. So that's the link for accessing the Power Automate. I will not go through the details of the Power Automate, so that needs another workshop, but we would simply create a quick workflow to fetch the data for the space station and create an automatic workflow for that. If I click on that, I would be redirected here, and I would be able to create an automatic I click on the create, I would be able to create an automated cloud flow. So you need to click on the create and click on the automated cloud flow. Any issue to just access this website? Any question? So if I click on that, it just have some predefined workflows that I want to skip. So click on that and click on skip. So it would give us a blank workflow here. It doesn't have anything to it. The first thing is to have a scheduler. So we want to create a scheduler that we want to fetch the data every minute or any other type of the and create on the recurrence. So if I want to do it again, I can just delete this. Here in the search for a schedule, we'll click on the schedule here, click on the recurrence. And the interval that you want to use for fetching the data it's up to you, but I want to just fetch the data every minute. I cannot go faster than every minute. It doesn't let me to do that because of my license here. But if we had access, we could just do it even to the 1 second, or can choose whatever time interval that you want to have for your fetching the online data. So I click on the next step. So the next step is to search for HTTP. Search for the HTTP, click on this one, HTTP Premium. It asks for the method. We want to get the data, so click on the method and put the get. And the URL that we are looking for to fetch the position of the space station is located in this link. I'm going to put this link into the chat. And if you look at the link more closely, you would see that the latitude and longitude of the space station here. It's an online format. It would be changed after some point. And you can see the time stamp. It's just to show the time that this position for the longitude and latitude is recorded. Yes, you can access the rest of the recording.
I'm sorry, I missed after clicking on the automated cloud flow, where should we click?
Click on skip. You see a list that it wants to choose from, but you can just click on skip. You see the skip?
Oh, okay.
And by coming here, that you can just click on search for a schedule. You see this list here.
Mm-hmm.
Click on a schedule, click on the recurrence, put it on the every minute, click on new step, search for HTTP. Click on get, and we want to get the data point that are the latitude and longitude of that space station online from this API here. So I would copy and paste this link. So that would just fetch the data for me, and click on the next step, search for parse JSON.
Sorry, so the link that we should put there is
This one. Let's put in the chat.
okay, thank you.
Yes. parse JSON. So search for the parse JSON because it's in the JSON format. We will go on to parse it and extract the latitude and longitude. And in order to generate from the sample to understand which fields that you want to have, so you can just generate from a sample. Just put the body here, the body of the message that we had before. So the body is the content. It's just basically this message here. And an example is just copy and pasting this thing in the URL. Just copy and paste and put it into the generate from sample. Okay, just delete this. Click on the generate from sample and done. So that would just create that for us.
When I paste at the HTTP, it doesn't show me anything, like it doesn't go forward. I don't know why. Like I copied and pasted the link that you put on the chat, that
Okay.
one on
I
the
just,
HTTP.
yes, but I can click on that. Can you just click on the link? Because I can click here. It just opens this message for me here. But does it show anything?
Yes, it shows this. It
Message.
shows exactly the same thing.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
But like when I paste the link on the green part, so I still don't have the purple window.
Did you search for the parse JSON? Let me remove this. After the HTTP, you need to search for the parse JSON.
So
Click on the next, click on the newest step,
okay, just sorry.
parse JSON.
Because like what in the green part, I open the like when I'm still in the blue one, I click next step, and then I click HTTP, and then when I click HTTP, it shows me. Okay, I don't know if we have access to that because it says premium.
We have access to that.
Oh,
when you click on the HTTP, it says it's premium. Does it want to create a free trial, or it just says that it's premium and doesn't work for you? Yes, you can click on it. It says the premium, but you can click on it. Yes, something like this. Let me remove this and click it from scratch, create it from scratch. Yes, it says the premium. I click on the premium. So I should be able to see this. Any issue to see that? Okay, if you are able to do that, you should be able to copy and paste the URL, this HTTP API open notify.org ISS node.json, and click on the next newest step. Look for parse JSON. And the content here is the body, which means that the body is just this message. It's just the body of the message. Click on the body. And in the example, in this link, copy and paste this into the generate from, click on the generate from sample and copy and paste it here and click on done. So that should find the schema for you. Any problem with that?
So I have a question with the JSON payload. Whenever I'm pasting the body there, it says that it's giving me a message that clicking done will overwrite your current schema.
That means that if you have something that you write something in the schema by your own, generating from sample would override that. Yeah.
So is this okay to just say hit done and
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
press? Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Good. So now, before going through, we back to the Microsoft Power BI. We click on the My Workspace here. Click on the My Workspace. Click on New, and clicking on a streaming data set. Click on API. Click on Next. You can choose whatever you want for your data set name. I just choose a space station, data set, training. And for the values, I have the message. When I look at the values I have for this JSON, I have a variable of message, timestamp, and latitude and longitude. So the message, timestamp, and I want to just put the date, time for the timestamp here, and latitude, which is a number, and longitude again, which is a number. And I click on create. So that's done. And I go back to my workflow in the Power Automate, click on the newest step, and search for Power BI here. And click on the add rows to a data set here. The workspace is my workspace. The data set is a space station data set training that I created. And the name of the data is the real-time data.
Okay, excuse me. So I'm kind of caught up, but my little ones kind of came in while you were going through a portion of this, so my apologies. But I'll tell you where I am. I'm trying to create. I'm at this step where I'm supposed to go to Power BI and click on creating a new streaming data set.
Right.
But I'm switching screens to try to look and try to do my part and then switch back to you. And by the time I get over there, it's gone. So can we go back to where you were in creating that new one? Is it the same way we've been creating the new ones under my workspace?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Thank you.
Also, the name of the data set is the whatever you want to choose. It's not necessary to be something specific. So for the streaming, again, click on the My Workspace. And click on the streaming data set. Click on the API. Choose whatever you want. Let's just whatever. And click on the historic data analysis on. We want to just record all the data points. Here I have message, have timestamps, stamp, which is date time, latitude, which is a number, and longitude, which is again a number. We would go back to that for just putting the appropriate variables into the Power Automate, but let's just create this one from scratch again. And when we hit the create, that would be created. Again, we could just, let me show you, just remove this, create that from the scratch. We'll put some of the messages that we want to fetch into the payload, but I want to add rows, my workspace, training. Yes, and I should see the message, which is message here. The timestamp is the one that I want to fetch my own time here. That was because I think at the first time we didn't hit the historic data analysis. Let me show you again. Click on new, just create a new one. You can just have the multiple one. Click on the API, choose whatever name. I put just dummy, for example, here, message, timestamp, which is daytime, latitude, which is number, and longitude, which is number again. And make sure you click on the historic data analysis on. That's important. And create, that should be fine. Even I would be able to use my dummy here. Let me do that again from the scratch. Yes. Time data. And I should see the message here. Then I can put the message. The timestamp is the time that I want to create. Yes, that's correct. You can just click on done. And that needs to just be able to find, to connect the Power Automate to the Power BI and find out what's the format of the data that we want to fetch from the JSON. So that's because that we create in the Power BI, that streaming data set. And for the time, just put this add hours UTC now 4. That just means that it would just fetch the time from your time zone into the timestamp. And the latitude is latitude and the longitude is just longitude.
I'm sorry for interrupting. I think I missed the message part because I can't see the message. I know you explained it one time, but I can't have that. I think I didn't turn on the part that you said, the history.
Yes, yeah. We need to, again, I do it again here.
Thank you.
Choose whatever name, dummy to whatever, and make sure you hit this historic data analysis on and click on message, timestamp as date time, latitude as number, and longitude as number again, and click on create. That would create that for you.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't see my workspace here. That's weird, but I just like have, oh, maybe I'm in the Power Automate window. That's why I can't see my workspace.
Yeah,
You're
it should be in the Power BI, yeah.
okay. Okay. And how I can get to Power BI again?
Just a web page that for the Power BI.
Okay, got it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna jump back in as well. I think I'm getting confused on this screen here that you're on. I can find Power BI, but I guess I'm clicking on the wrong thing because I don't see where you can add rows to the data set.
That's in the Power Automate.
Right, I'm back over there, I believe, with the steps here. Yeah, I'm there, but I guess I'm not seeing, I have the 3 bars and then I have Power BI, but I don't have.
The Power Automate should just show the Power Automate here in the left top.
Yes, sir, I have that.
Okay, so if I delete that, we can click
Okay.
on the newest step. Here, search for Power BI.
Mm-hmm.
And here in the actions, you should see the add rows to a data set.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes. My workspace is obviously is my workspace, and the dummy is dummy or whatever. And the real-time data, the message is just message. The timestamp, I want to just fetch my time zone. I click on the expression and I just copy paste that add hours UTC now for. I just put it again in the chat. And click on OK. And the latitude is just latitude and longitude is just longitude. So. The dynamic content, when you open that, it would just list your dynamic content here for you, if you had the correct formatting in the parse JSON. So it should did generate from sample correctly, and then it should just find the message, latitude, and longitude correctly for you.
Please, can you paste the timestamp again?
Yes. That's the function that we want to put into the expression. Here, I'm just going to do it again. I go to the timestamp, click on the expression, I copy paste it here, and click on OK. It will be added here. So now click on save, and we would save that. I'm not sure what's the problem, but I just copy and pasted the thing that I just put here. I could just put it again. Go to the expression, paste it. No, don't type that in the timestamp. Just click on the timestamp and you should see the expression, and you can copy paste that into the expression. Even we have it in the website, you can just copy it here. Yes, I click on OK. Okay, I got that myself. Why? Yes, I had multiple one. Okay. The problem was that maybe there are multiple one are added. Yes. And click on save. So that just save that workflow for us. So the last step is to just test our workflow and make sure that the workflow works fine. And click on the test here in the right top. Click on automatically with the recently triggered, and click on one of them and click test. It will test the workflow for you. If there would be no error, it means that we did everything right. So there is no error. Your flow runs successfully. So it means that the workflow is fine. So It's done, basically. So we created that automated workflow here in the Power Automate, and then we need to just go back to the Power BI. And
I got an error for the JSON part.
sorry, what?
I mean I got an error for JSON part, the past JSON.
The past of which ones?
Past JSON. After when I checked, yes, that one.
Yeah, you should just search for the parse JSON. Here, something like this. If I want to.
Yeah, it failed.
Why? What's the error?
It says the content property of action must be JSON.
So maybe there was a problem. Did you put the content in the body in the content?
Yes.
And did you copy paste this message from that link into the generate from sample and click on done?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Okay, let me check it. Let me go back and okay, I know where the error is.
And did you put this message time step? So that's strange because that's not failed.
Yeah, I put that.
And I can test it again. Seems it just works fine.
Okay, yeah, it's fine now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I can go to the data set. I have here and refresh my window. And I would put the dummy here in my workspace. Just find the dummy and click here and create report. And now you should see the fields of the latitude and longitude. And I would just create a map like what we did before. And I'm just going to drag and drop the latitude and the longitude. Yes, that's the position of the space station right now. And if I save that, I would just save that report. And whenever, every minute, that would be updated. So space station training. And whenever you want to refresh that, you need to just click on this refresh visual. That would just refresh that for us. Let me see. Yeah, I had a new data point here. So that would just refresh the data points and interactively would fetch the data and create this position as dot points for us here. Any problem, any question with that?
Yeah, I think I missed the part where you got that information to the dummy. I got the dummy file to Power BI because I can't find it. And I tried to refresh, but maybe I'm doing that incorrect.
In the dummy, I'm just creating a report.
Like I don't have a dummy
I mean,
file.
whatever name that you choose for your data set. If you cannot find it, you can just refresh one time. You can just click on refresh.
Oh, okay. Are you talking just about my space station training data set?
Yes, yeah.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah. So create report, and you should be able to see that. And again, create that here. Okay, that's good. That's a good sign. I'll save this and yes, so that's the one I created here. And again, if I refresh that, I should be able to see more data points. Yeah, it would be updated every minute, so it would fetch the data every minute. Any question, any comments with that?
So I have just 2 data points here.
So with more times, it just fetch the data every minute. So maybe if you wait a couple of more minutes, you should see more data points.
Okay.
Yeah. And about the JSON, I'm not sure what's the problem, but let me back to that and make sure you have the body in the contents, and the schema is generated by just copy and pasting this message from this link into here and just clicking on done. That would be done.
For the add rows to the data set, it's not letting me input like the message timestamp. It just keeps telling me to input like a payload.
That's because maybe the data stream is not created correctly at the beginning. If you see still the payload, if you go back to the My Workspace, new streaming data set, clicking on API, and choose whatever name, M, for example, and make sure you click on the historic data analysis on, and then have this format and click on create. Timestamp, which is date time, with this number, and click on create. That would create it for you. And that should work if you choose in the data set, choose whatever that you created recently from the list. You see a list here. The function for the timestamp is here in the website as well, and I just put it again in the chat. Yes. Not copy and pasting. I just remove it again. Just go to the timestamp expression and click on add. Okay, so that would just add it for you. Something like this. Click on expression, copy and paste that, click on OK. That should be fine. Maybe you just need to refresh your web page. That would just give you the recent data set in the list to find it in your My Workspace. And for the JSON, I'm not sure what's the problem. So because that should work, I believe. I'm not sure if anybody else has that problem or not. Yes.
So to create the visualization, we go to My Workspace and then click on the like.
Yes, yeah. If you go to the My
On the
Workspace,
dummy.
to whatever that you created for your data set name and click on these 3 dots here and click on create report.
And then we click on the map later.
Yes, click on the map here, click on the map and put the latitude and longitude here. That's it. Yes, because you have the timestamp, so somehow you have the time associated with each data point. So yeah, you can plot the latitude and longitude based on the history of timestamps that you have. So yeah, you have the history of the location of that space station. But there is a limit for the data points here. You cannot go beyond 10,000. Yes, it would be updated automatically. Every time you open your report, click on refresh, it would be automated fetch all the data points for you, the new data points. Any other questions, comments, problems that you might encounter? The last section before closing the workshop is about connecting the Microsoft Power BI to the ArcGIS data server, but that needs the Power BI desktop. So I would just leave that if you have the Windows machine and you can install the Microsoft Power BI desktop to your machine, and then just you can go through the connection here. That would be easy. You need to just have access to the Microsoft Power BI desktop and connect that to the ArcGIS data server. And similar to what we did here for online fetching of the data, you can do it with the ArcGIS data server as well. So I'm just putting the link for the last section here. But with that, so that's the end of this workshop. And if you have any question, feel free to ask. If you have any comment, feel free to ask. And also, if you have any question later on, shoot me an email. I would be happy to help and answer your question.
How do you want these sent to you?
Before until the next Wednesday, May 26th. So that's fine.
Yeah, but how?
Just assemble it in a Word document, the visualization, screenshots, and or in the PDF format. That's fine.
Okay. Do you want all the ones that were on the website or just the ones we went over today?
Just the ones that we were go through today. Yeah. But if you have, if you can practice on the other ones that are on the website, that's also good. Yeah.
Awesome. So to just make sure that I'm clear on this, for this last piece that we did, if we don't have that, if we can't upload it or download it to our device, we're just sending you this visualization that has the dots kind of in almost a U shape.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
Thank you for going over this workshop with us. We appreciate it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your patience.
No, that's fine. Thank you for your participation. I would send the recording of this session tomorrow afternoon or today or tomorrow afternoon. Yeah. So. Thank you. The next step was to find your data set, whatever name is that. For example, mine was dummy, and I just click on these three dots here and create report. And just choose the map similar to what we did initially for the COVID-19 data set and put the latitude and longitude here. So that should give you these points. Does that answer your question? Date, I'm not sure which data set is that, which one has date, because the data set that we have here were not time series as far as I believe. Yes, okay, you mean this one, right? Okay, so this one needs another data set about the COVID-19 data set in different time series. So I would be able to share that. Yes, it's a different data set, but I just put the ones here. It's in the website still. I could just give it to you here really quick. Yeah, let me share it with you. Yes, it's the one here. So yeah, that's the one for that data set that has the months or dates that you can use for creating this visualization. Let me see if I can share my report with you or not. It was this dashboard SC. You're looking for this, right? Okay, let me see if I'm able to share it with you. Uh, uh, the data visualization that we created today, and if you have time, some of the other ones that are available in the website for receiving that certificate. Good. Yeah, if you had any question, please let me know later on for creating these ones. Thank you everyone thank you for your participation.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. We don't have any specific workshop using SQL yet, but if there is enough interest, we would develop the material for the future sessions. So we need to do some surveying and see if, oh, okay. So we would do some surveying and we would send you some survey to see if there is enough interest for the SQL. So we would create the workshop for that for sure. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I would wait a couple of more minutes to see if somebody has question, but you are feel free to leave if you want, if you don't have any question.